Greetings, my little yarnivores. It is Fiber Spider back again, and I got such a tremendous response to my last video on how to make these adorable little pumpkins with the Addi, the small Addi knitting machine, that I decided that I would show you how to make this monstrosity. Yes, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Now this one actually is also from a previous video. This one's crocheted, and I do have this available in my Crocheting with Fiber Spider playlist if you want to check that out. If you don't have either of the Addi machines, and if you would like to give that a go, have that available. And so we did this one last time. This is a little itty bitty. And yes, we have this nice monstrosity. So I'm going to show you how to do this guy today. Alright, so today we are going to need a knitting needle or chopstick, some sort of stick-like thing. Last time we just used the crochet hook, again, size G, because the small pumpkins, you can totally work with that. Yarn needle, and of course, a pair of scissors. Now, as far as your prep, with the large Addi knitting machine, I used, again, Carrot, the color Carrot by Red Heart Super Saver, and I knitted on the machine, the large machine, 36 rounds, and, it was a, standard cast on, standard cast off, very, very quick to do, and so I already cinched one end shut, and the first end that you do, leave a good, full arm's length of yarn, because you're going to need that for making the divots later, and then, a fair length for this side. So now the reason why we need the knitting needle is because it creates a gap through the center as you're stuffing it. As you're stuffing it, it creates a hole through the center, which makes it so much easier for when you're trying to get your needle through later. It has saved me so much grief and so much time, and trust me, it's a fabulous thing. And so, of course, also you're going to need a little bit of green yarn for crocheting the stem. And again, it is a G-sized crochet hook. And yeah, you're going to need a lot of stuffing. Now, you can make your pumpkin a bit more squishy, like it's been sitting in a field and it just rained the night before. Or you can really stuff the stuffing out of it and make it a very firm pumpkin. The only drawback to potentially overstuffing is that it might show through, I'll show you, it might show through your stitches. Now, I mean, it's not the end of the world, of course, but it's just another thing to consider. Alright, so I think we just about have it, just a little bit more on this side here, and then we will cinch it up. Okay, and alright, still with my needle going through the back hole, through the center, and let me just gather this all in. And I love making these because they are so quick and so easy, and they look fabulous. All right. They would be great for a centerpiece on your Thanksgiving Day table, great as a gift, etc. All right. So now that we have our nice squishy ball, all right, we are going to commence with the sewing in of the ends. All right. Okay, so I got my yarn needle threaded. Now this side that I'm doing first is the side with the shorter tail. So basically you just go through a stitch, yarn over twice, and pull through. And you're just going to knot this a couple of times. It's really not an exact science. You do not have to freak out over it. This is just to get this knotted. The entire piece is going to be so puckered after you're done that you are not going to notice if there's some sort of wonky knot showing. It is perfectly fine. I just like to knot it a couple of times to reinforce it, and then stick it through the center and have it come out in a random place so that you don't have to worry about that. So stick through, and then just random. Works for me. All right. And then, being sure not to actually cut your stitching, just trim that, and then presto changeo, disappeared. Okay, so then we're going to do the side with the long tail. And this is where this gourd is really going to take shape. All right, there we go. And of course, I don't have all of my plies. Naturally. Try this again. Alrighty. And can I get it? Yes. Haha. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so now with the opposite end, pull it relatively snug and knot it a couple of times just so that it is secure. I mean, you're going to be doing this again anyway, so it's really not a big deal, but just so that the opening there doesn't get any bigger and it's nice and secure. Okay, so got that. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to drape the yarn across and then go through the center hole, and then because you primed the piece with the knitting needle while you were stuffing, you can get your needle through that much easier. And also, you know, if you stuffed this too firmly, you're going to have a problem because you're not going to be able to squish it down enough so that you can actually retrieve your needle. All right, so then you cinch nice and tightly. You know, be careful though, you do not want to break your yarn while you're doing this. So be firm, but be sensible. All right, so through again. All right, and there we are. Oops. Okay, so what I like to do is pull on my pre-existing strand, drape, and then pull on the second strand, and that way it stays in place. See? All right. Then I go across, again, draping down through the center, through to the other side. There we are, see? Okay, through to the other side. Also, sometimes it's nice if you can get your yarn to lay in the ditch of your stitch. Although I really don't find that it's necessary, although it can look a little bit neater if you do it that way. And so you just keep doing this, going through, wrapping over, etc. And I like to do it where I have 6 segments in total. So I've got it split in half, and then on this side, I'm going to go splitting this into a total of 3 segments. So go through again, cinch, all right, and I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to do my remaining 2 off camera, and then we can get into making the stem, which is a bit more involved than the last mini pumpkin, because this one needs a bit more dimension to it, and so it's going to take a bit more crocheting, but we shall persevere. That's what we do here on my channel. All right, see, I've got 3 segments, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and I will meet back up with you in a bit. Okay, so I've got my 6 segments here, and then really it's just a matter of going through a couple of stitches close to the center and doing the old yarn over once, twice. There we go. And pulling through. You know, working close to the center, it can be a little bit tricky. Sorry for the shaky camera angle and work, but all right. And then go through another pair of stitches, wrap again, pull that nice and tight, and then, as I say, for stuff and giggles, just do a nice knot there, and then I'll go through close to the base where my knot is, and then go through. All right, having issues there. Almost got it. There we go. All right. And then being careful not to cut my stitching. All right. And you have the finished base for your pumpkin. Fabulous. Okay. So now you need to grab your G crochet hook and some green yarn, and we are going to get started on the stem. All right, so we're going to start with the obligatory slip knot, and then we are going to chain 2, and of course if you need a refresher, you can check out my playlist, Crocheting with Fiber Spider, to get some of these basics underhand. All right, so you've got your chain 2, and then you do 4 single crochets into this first chain. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, then for the second round, we are going to do 2 single crochets in each single crochet. So we're going to go from 4 to 8 going in the round here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alrighty. And then at this time, what I like to do is take this little tail here, and I just like to sew it around, securing it, making the center a bit tighter. So I'm going to do that off camera, and meet back up with you. Okay, so I fastened in that little end of yarn. Now, what helps for the remainder of this is to take a piece of contrasting yarn, just pull it through that last stitch that we did that's on there, and this is going to help us keep track of where we're at. So right now, we are going to do 3 more rounds with just 1 stitch in each stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and going through the stitch with the marker makes 8. Okay, then we go up to that stitch that we just did, pull our tail through, and so we have a total of, as you can see, 1, 2, 3 rounds. So do 2 more rounds, moving up your marker as you go, or you could just, count. It's like, okay, another 16 stitches to go, and then the crocheting of the stem will be done. I'm going to do the next 2 rounds off camera, and I will meet back up with you when I'm done with that. Okay, so I finished those rows, and, well, rounds, and as you can see, we have our little stem here, and for the last stitch, I just like to go into the next stitch and just do a slip stitch, and then just cut my yarn and pull it through, and there you are. All right, so don't need my hook anymore. All right, and then you grab a little bit of stuffing, really not much at all, and you stuff your stem. Not exact science, just enough to give it some je ne sais quoi. All right, so we got a little stem there. All right, now we are going to attach our stem to the pumpkin, which is a bit more involved than the mini one because, yes, it has dimensions. So what we're going to do is, going to get our stem here. Now, close to the center, okay, close to the inner sanctums of the pumpkin, you're going to run your needle through, pull it all the way through. Now, this can be a little tricky, but it is worth it, trust me. All right, so it's now attached through one of the low down stitches there, and then we go through one of the stitches on the pumpkin, okay? And I'm gonna pull it tight, but not so tight that it's ridiculous, but you want it to be relatively close to where it meets up with the pumpkin. You don't want there to be a lot of slack. Okay, and then you go in again, as close as you can. I mean, it can be tricky. I am more than willing to admit it can be tricky. It's even trickier trying to get this in a good shot. But I am trying for you guys. All right, see, just get really down in there as best you can. All right. So that's another one. And then you go into, it doesn't have to be every stitch on your stem. You could do like every other, you know, just as long as this is not being used as a dog toy and it's more of a decorative item, people are not going to, I would assume, they're not going to test the strengths and limits of your stitching. You know, to me, this is really much more of a decorative piece. All right, and so basically it's just doing a stitch through the pumpkin, through the stem, through the pumpkin, through the stem, alternating back and forth, you know, and trying to make your stitches as tight as you can so that you don't have a lot of slack going on there. Okay? See, it's already fairly secure. And you just keep going around and so forth. And so you just keep working your way around. And I think you've seen enough of me doing this. So I'm going to stop the camera, finish this up off camera, and meet back up with you when I'll show you the finishing details. All right then. All right, so I finished my stitching. As you can see, I tried to get as close down in there as I could. And so right now, as far as, you know, when you're completely attached all the way around, what I tend to do is just run my yarn through, knot it on itself. Excuse me. There we go. You know, do a couple of knots. You know, nothing too tremendous. And then, last but not least, you know, run it through itself. You know, run the thread through the stem a bunch of times. To secure it. And there we go. All right, we have ourselves a finished pumpkin. Oh, love these guys. All right, so remember, on the large Addi, it is a total of 36 rounds when you're doing your stem. With a G-sized crochet hook, you start with 2 chains, and then you do 4 single crochet in the first chain from the hook. Sorry, the first chain that you did, excuse me. So you do 4 single crochets, you do 2 in each, and then you have a total of 5 rounds to make your stem. And I think these are absolutely adorable. And, you know, again, you can check out my other video on how to make these, how you can crochet these, and how you can make these adorable little pips. All right, so as always, knowledge is power, but sharing is caring, and I'm so delighted that I can share this with you today, and I hope you had a really nice, fun time learning this as much as I had fun shooting this. And so if you get a chance to, make a batch of these up. Have a lovely display on your Thanksgiving Day table. You know, share one of these with somebody you love. I mean, they're really quick, really simple, and they're a lot of fun. Well, until next time, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and stay inspired. You have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.